many would say, raise your hand if you have a good memory? Let me see your hand. You have a better than average or what you think is a good memory. Aha. All right, let me see your hand if you're saying, you know what, I probably just have like an average memory. I don't think it's any good, it's just normal average. And how many say, I really don't even have a very good memory, I don't even know what you just said? Aha. Ready? Do this for me. Give me a question that you would like to know about the topic of memory. Where's the letter B? B. Give me a question that you would like to know about the topic of memory.
How do you optimize it?
Oh, how do you up it? Yeah. How could a person who have an average memory can a person with an average memory make it faster, better, more efficient? Ooh.
Can stress affect
Does stress affect memory?
Does a healthy lifestyle, like food and working out,
Does living a lifestyle that's healthy, working out, whatever, does it have an impact on memory, maybe helping it? What exactly? If it's just simply a bunch of chemical processes, then what I mean, the tangibleness of it, like where does it reside? Where does a memory, what does it mean? Right? Is that what you're saying? It's just kind of like is it like a nerve cell that just fires and when you think about a memory? Well, that's a good question. Give me easier questions.
What makes things stand out so that you can retain the memory?
Oh, what makes something stand out so that you can retain the memory? How many have a memory when like you were like 4 or 5, it just stands out to you like your first memory and it's pretty clear? Aha. I'll ask you a question about that in just a minute. Does anybody have a memory of before the age of 2? Wait, before you raise your hand. I rarely find anybody that has a real, indeed, true memory before the age of 2. Does anybody have a memory of 2, like, or being born? That would be odd, huh? Like, dude, it was weird coming out, man. I was here, and then I was there. It's like light. And this dude slapped me.
Question. Has anybody ever had the memory of an elephant?
Of a who?
Of an elephant. Elephants don't forget anything. Has any other animal or person?
Oh, I see. Does anybody have like a memory in which they don't forget things? Oh, guess what? Is that your kind of question?
Yeah.
There is a person, a daughter of a professor at this university who has the ability to remember everything that's ever happened to her since she's been a kid. She never forgets. So our friend went like this. She said, hey, you have this great memory. I wonder how many movies we ever went to together since we met back in 1996. And she goes, oh, let me tell you. And she named off all the memories and the days and when they went. A little creepy, huh? Her dad works here. And you want to see a video of her? Of course you do. That's why I have it in my PowerPoint. So, as we get started, one of the things that we'll do is figure out a way to move this thing forward. There we go. Memory. Memory is the persistence of learning over time. We just talked about classical and operant conditioning or learning. All's memory is holding on to something over time. It's like a Google search, but you don't have to write that down. But it's like putting in something. And so some people go like this, oh, let me recall, let me think through this, let me figure it out. And some of you said, when I said you have a good memory, some of you are like, yeah, I could pretty much read something and recall it back. I don't have to study a lot, for example, or I can read things, or I have a good memory of events. What's been most surprising for psychologists as we study the field of memory is how messed up some of our memories are. Not in a bad, twisted, weird way, just simply in a way that they're, ready? They're pliable. Your memories are pliable. We took college students and we implanted a memory in them of something that never happened. A professor 20 miles away from here at University UC Irvine, now I don't know where she's at now, but she was there for a while, took college students and implanted in them in like a simple, quick research experiment, a memory of something that never happened. How did she do it? How would you implant a memory into a person of something and then they recall it a couple of weeks later as, oh, that happened to me, I now remember that. How'd she do it? All she did is she told them, ready? I want to call your parents and I want to find out I'm going to ask them for 5 things that happened to you in your life as a child. And I want to have them tell me those 5 things. And then I'm going to tell you these 5 memories and I want to see if you remember them. That's what she did. So she called their parents. And the parents said, yeah, okay, I think my child will remember this one. We moved one time, they did this, I think he'll probably remember that, or she'll probably remember this. And so, sure enough, the researcher went, told the student, I talked to your parents, here are a couple of different memories, do you remember them? And for most of them, they went, oh, I do remember that. Yeah, I remember that birthday. I remember throwing up at the movie theater. Oh, yeah, I remember that memory. And then she always did something interesting and unique at that point. What did she do? She made up a memory and she told the parents, hey, I'm going to tell them that you've had a memory and that there was an event that really never happened. And so we're going to tell your kid this event that never happened. And so she said, well, has your kid ever been lost in a mall, for example? And they went, no. Okay, that's what we're going to use. And so they told the college student, okay, your parents said this. And then there was a 5th one that you were lost in a mall when you were like 6 years old for like 15 minutes, wandering by yourself, lost. And the kid goes, I don't remember that memory. And then the researcher said, okay, well, think through these and think about it. And try, search your mind. Do a Google search. Think about being lost in a mall and what happened. And the kid goes, I don't know. I don't really remember that many details. That's okay. Think about all these memories, these 4 and that one. And then come back next week and we're going to talk more about these memories and see what happens. And so guess what? They would come back the next week and they came back 2 more times after that. And each time they came back, what did they do? They started to fill in some of the gaps of this false memory and they started to go, you know what? I'm starting to remember a little bit more about being lost in the mall. And after about a couple of weeks, all it took was for them to try and recall things about their lives and that they knew their parents told them that this memory happened or had told this researcher, but it never really happened. And they began to fill in details like the guy that had me was wearing a plaid shirt. He grabbed my hand and held me and walked me to find my parents. He was really helpful, and I remember that now. He was wearing boots. And they started to fill in the gap. Is that interesting? Do we do the same thing with our memory? I used to have a guy in the middle of this class stand up. Some of that many of you have never seen. And I'd have him come up and just stand up. And he would say, Dr. Grace, I want to talk about the last exam. I'd say, okay, well, why don't we wait till after class? He goes, no, I want to talk about now. It was a bad exam. And I say, listen, it's okay. We need to talk after class about the exam. No, I want to talk now. This is bad. And he runs up, and I have papers up here, and he knocks them over. And then he goes out the room. And then I stop. And I say, all right, wow, that was weird. Let's talk about the guy and what just happened. As an eyewitness to what was this now a staged situation, like a crime, how good are you at recalling the details? What's shocking isn't that everybody guessed his gender. After he left, everybody knew it was a guy. And that is where the agreement of what he was like stopped. People were unaware if he was wearing, and what he was wearing to a certain degree. They didn't remember if they remembered some things about him, like if every once in a while I had somebody with facial hair come in and they kind of remembered that, but if I'd said the question, they have facial hair, like, I don't know. Is it November? I don't know. Then they would say, I can't tell. What was he wearing? What was his shirt like? What color hair? Could you pick him out of a lineup? Could you have picked that guy out of the lineup? What was happening to these eyewitnesses? All y'all. What was happening? You were paying attention to the dynamics of things going on, and you weren't saying to this, I got to remember his face and his hair and his shirt, because I may be asked to pick him out of a lineup. So you didn't do that. And your memory of him was not very accurate. You missed his height. You missed his hair color. You oftentimes missed facial hair. You missed key features. Sometimes a shirt would stand out to you, but it never really helped us when we tried to have this great lineup of people. How good is your memory? And the answer is we've been studying more over the last few years something else called the pliability of memory. Your memory is pliable. That's why this researcher had the ability to put into and implant a memory into people without really trying very hard. Now, she talked to this person afterwards, talked to their parents, talked to the kids, say, hey, listen, you weren't really lost in the mall, and we used this, here's this study, and here's what we were trying to figure out. You know why she did that? Why did she do that study? To manipulate people? Do you think that's why she did it? Because she wanted to be unethical, like I'm just going to give this guy a memory of something that never happened. You know what people were recalling? People were going to trial and to court charging people with crimes that occurred many, many, many years ago that they were only now recalling as adults. And they would remember a crime that happened as they were a kid, and they would go to court and say, that's what happened to me 15, 20 years ago, and I forgot all about it, but now I remember it. And people were being convicted of things, and she was going, can people really remember things? And then, more importantly, can they really forget something for that long? How pliable is our memory? Is it malleable? Can people say things to us? Can we see a picture when we're little, and that becomes part of our memory? And go, I don't really remember this. Then you see a picture like, oh, and then you recall a couple of years later, I remember sitting on that little flower bed, wearing that little thing right there, and it's really a picture that you remember about yourself. But you remember the situation. So psychologists are fascinated because it has huge implications. Eyewitness testimony. How good are we at really picking out crimes? Do you remember the story I told you about Jennifer? The lady that said was being attacked by a man in her home, and she said, I'm going to remember what? His face, and I'm just going to spend my time thinking about his face, and he was attacking her. He goes, I'm going to put him away, and she messed it up because of her attempt to do that. How good are we at this? So ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to ask big questions. You don't have to write these down, but here's some big questions that we have. What would it be like to have a perfect memory? Would that be awesome? How many think that would be awesome to have a perfect memory? How many think that would not be awesome? Why would it not be awesome?
Because what if you do something bad?
You would never forget the bad things.
There'd be a lot of bad things that you wouldn't forget. Like that outfit you wore that one day. Not you. I didn't mean that personally. I meant me. Like, okay, that outfit.
I feel like it'd be really easy to hold a grudge.
It'd be easy to hold a grudge because people you wouldn't forget anything. You said a bad thing to me. Wow, that's interesting. What would it be like? By the way, you don't have to write this down necessarily, but that's called a super, according to your question, are there any people like elephants? A super autobiographical memory. To basically be able to remember every day is like if it just happened. So here's the person from, her name is Louise. The professor is Dr. Owen in the music department. Marlon Owen, and
I'm going to give you a quiz.
Okay.
she was on 60
Ready?
Minutes.
January 28th, 1986.
The Tuesday Challenger explosion.
Nelson Mandela is freed from prison.
February 11th, 1990.
Yes.
Sunday, yeah.
Ella Fitzgerald dies.
June 15th, 1996.
Yes.
Yes.
Final episode of Seinfeld.
May 14th, 1998, Thursday.
If I asked you to start from the first day you remember vividly, and could you go day by day?
Sure, I could. I mean, the other day I had a friend who said, "How many movies do you think we've seen together?" And I said, "Well, I'll count." And I started from the time we met in 1996, and it was like seeing a slideshow of each day of my life with this friend in sort of in full focus. Oh, okay, yes, we went to see this movie, we went to see that movie, we went to see Gladiator that day, we went to see, you know, the Royal Tenenbaums that day. Yeah.
So I could ask you a question like that would require you to take a fast look at every day, and you could actually do it.
I could do that. I know it's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
There are about 20 people like her that have been verified that have this thing called the super autobiographical memory, and it's this memory that's just kind of unexplainable. Most of us kind of purge things after a few days. We tend not to remember things, and there's some beauty in that, right? I mean, there's some good news in that. This is an exhausting thing for her, and there are others with perfect memories like her we'll talk about, and it's interesting to study them, but it also gives kind of an insight into why forgetting can be such a good thing. So if that's the case, let's ask this question. Does God have a perfect memory? I see some of you nodding your head, but really? God has a perfect memory? Huh. Someone go ahead and tell me why he has a perfect memory. Why he does. You're nodding your head. Because he's outside of time. He doesn't remember stuff, he's just there. So there's nothing he can forget, so to speak. I mean, he just remembers everything. Huh. Anybody want to argue against that? You should. Does he ever choose to? Is that what you're going to say? Were you going to say that?
Isaiah 43:25.
Isaiah 43:25.
Says, "I will forgive your sins."
Is that what he said? Isaiah 43:25. I will forget your sins. Do you believe that? Wait. We have the God who supposedly created all things, who's outside time, who has the ability to know all things, and he forgets something. He chooses to?
Okay, so if God's omniscient,
If God's omniscient,
everywhere he knows everything,
and he knows all things,
I don't think that literally means he forgets. I think he just lets it go. Like,
maybe it's not forgetting, it's just maybe he lets it go. That's a pretty interesting verse, though. I choose.
Well, it says he blots out our transgressions and remembers them no more.
He blocks them out and remembers them no more. Well, it's an interesting thought. By the way, Micah 7:19, he will cast all their sins into the depths of the sea. It's called, sometimes translated, the sea of forgetfulness. Have you ever heard that one? Yeah. All of our sins are cast into the sea of forgetfulness. Anybody know who Corrie ten Boom was? Corrie ten Boom wrote some great books. She was a Jewish young girl in the concentration camps. Anyway, she's written some great books about this. She loves this verse. She says he does cast our sins, and then he does something on the banks of that sea. What does she do? She says that God puts up a sign that says, what? Oh, there's Isaiah 43. Look, Isaiah 43. I will not remember your sins. Did you know this lecture was coming? I have cast all my sins behind your back, he says. But anyway, Corrie ten Boom says he takes and he puts up a sign that says no fishing into the sea of forgetfulness. That's kind of cool to think about. Think about that for a minute. No fishing. He puts up a sign. How many of you all go fishing sometimes in that sea? Just a thought. Interesting question. We don't have time to explore this, but he does seem, apparently, according to the writers, that he does have a perfect memory, yet also chooses to forget some things. What would it be like, here's another question, not to remember anything beyond 2 minutes? Or beyond 1 minute? Guess what? There's a man. His name is Clive Wearing. And Clive Wearing had a battle with encephalitis when he was a young man. He was a very powerful, well, not powerful, but he was a very well-known musician. And guess what? He had a battle of encephalitis, and he woke up with a headache over a few days, and he, to this day, does not remember anything beyond about 1 to 2 minutes. Nothing. So here's what his life is like. I'll give you just a real quick tour of it because it's a fascinating experience.
Clive was an outstanding musician.
He would take his work very, very seriously. At the same time, he loved music so much that he just really threw himself into it totally.
Clive was a musician of enormous integrity.
He was the world's expert on Lassus, one of the 3 or 4 great composers of the Renaissance.
And he also worked a great deal in contemporary music and was chorus master of the London Sinfonietta, which was Europe's foremost group.
Music flows out of him, whether he's singing or playing or conducting.
Clive Waring, through a cruel twist of fortune, shows us how fundamental consciousness and memory are to our lives.
This is it's his wife walking in. She had been there earlier.
I don't know. You've not seen me before?
No. This is the first time.
You pleased to see me?
Oh, there there's nobody else I care about in the world as a whole.
Oh, darling.
If she goes away, this is how he greets her. If she leaves the room for a few
So how are
minutes.
you feeling this morning?
I'm conscious for the first time. It's the first time I've seen anybody talk.
You've not been conscious before? No. I've been here before this
I
morning.
haven't seen you before.
No, you haven't?
No. I've not seen anything at all before. Been completely blind the whole time. No taste, so this is the first taste I've had.
That's the first coffee you've had?
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers. And how are you seeing things?
Absolutely normally. The first time.
Full colour?
Yes. I've never seen anything the whole time I've been ill. No black and white, nothing.
Do you remember me arriving?
No.
He's already
I don't
forgotten
remember
that
any
she
of
just
that. I don't remember
arrived.
writing any of that stuff. Nothing to do with me consciously. I mean, unconscious writing.
What are you doing here?
Well, I don't know, presumably paying patients, but I mean, that's the first time I've seen any cards.
Is it?
Yes.
Do you remember starting the game? No. It all started with a headache.
What he does is he'll write down in his journal every few minutes. And you know what he writes down? It's 1:57 p.m. I am now awake for the first time. Patience begins, because he's playing a game of patience. And then a few minutes later it says, 2:01 p.m. I am now awake for the first time. And he goes back and he crosses off the thing he wrote in there at 1:57. Because he goes, I wasn't awake then. I'm now awake right now for the first time. 2:05. I'm now awake for the first time. First drink of coffee. The game of patience begins. Whoever wrote that in the journal before is lying. 2 minutes of memory. And then it fades, and he's still like that today. That was about 20 years ago. And it's painful. We forget what it's like to have a perfect, we don't want either extreme. I don't know if we would like to have a perfect memory nor a memory like that, but somewhere in between would be pretty good, which most of us have. So the question for psychologists is this. We take for granted this thing that we have. It holds us together. It kind of connects us to our past. It helps us figure out things. And so these memory researchers are trying to explore, what does this mean? Can people forget something that happened during childhood? And the newest trend, just to kind of give you an update, over the last few decades, this trend has been researchers for a long time. I remember when I was first starting off in psychology, I remember they were just looking at questions like, how much memory? What's the amount? How much can people hold on to? And for how long? And now, over the last 20 years or so, there's been a big shift that people are more interested now in the pliability of memory. That's where Elizabeth Loftus, the researcher who studies memory and implanting and how easy it is to take and maybe implant a memory in somebody, why she is now looking at this question. How good are eyewitnesses? If memory's pliable, plastic, flexible, you pull things in that never really happened to you, can we trust what we believe? Can we trust what we remember? And so the answer is that, by the way, memory seems to be fallible, quirky, and reconstructive. Some people think, oh, a memory, I'll just play it back one day like a camera. And researchers are saying, well, unfortunately, our memories don't act like a video camera, like a cell phone camera. They don't act like that at all. They act like a theater. Do you understand that difference? A theater is you put on a play, let's say on this stage right behind me, if we put on a play, Fiddler on the Roof, it wouldn't look like a play, it would bear resemblance to maybe the original work, and there'd be some things about Fiddler on the Roof on this stage that would be very different than if we did this a year ago at a different stage. There'll be different actors and different ways in which it looks and different feel to the theater, and that is more like our memory. It kind of changes. How much we remember about this class today. Do you guys realize how much you're going to remember about this class today? Will any of you remember this moment in time 10 years from now? I don't know. 10 years from now. Imagine that. You might not remember, some of you won't remember this a week from now. Some of you that are back hanging out and thinking about other things, I guarantee you won't remember this an hour from now. It's just going to fade away. Because if we don't pay attention, things go. So, how pliable? How good? I'm just going to skip over this. Can you think of any good movies that have memory themes in it? Give me some 50 First Dates. Is that what you're going to say? 50 First Dates. Any other good movies? What was this called? The Vow. The Notebook. Born Ultimatum. Dory, whatever. Okay, by the way, here's the main theme. I don't care if you necessarily write this down, but Hollywood loves, why would Hollywood love the idea of memories and making people lose memory or forget memories or rediscover memories? Probably because memories define us. They connect us to the past. And so if you mess with that or you change, people go, oh, I can redefine myself. I could be somebody completely different. Or maybe your past catches up with you. Or you begin to lose something, a connection with a person because that memory's gone and relationships change. So I think Hollywood loves this. You probably could think of Hollywood exploiting the idea of memory. Anybody else have another favorite movie that has memory loss in it?
Shutter Island.
What is it? Shutter Island? What was it? Memento. Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. Guys, there's a lot out there. More. Well, here's a bunch. Total Recall, Notebook, Forgotten, Gothica, Anastasia, Paycheck,
Inception.
Deja Vu. Inception was a big one too. Memories, Forgotten, what we remember. Okay, do you understand the whole point? Memories connect us to the past and help define us right now. That's why they're so important. This lady, most of you probably don't recognize her picture. You shouldn't, because it was just a story that happened maybe, it was popular maybe 10, 15 years ago to know who she was, and then it fades from memory. But what happened to her was she's on trial right there testifying because when she looked at her 3-year-old daughter while playing with her, her daughter did this. Her daughter was in front on the floor and looked up at her mom and went like this and looked at her mom, and her mom went, oh! She had a memory that came back. The girl's face reminded her of a memory she had forgotten for 20 years. It was the memory of her best friend, that girl, the face she made right before she was murdered. And that memory came back to her. Oh! I remember my best friend being murdered, and I was there. And I forgot about it for 20 years, and it came back to her. And by the way, that girl was murdered 20 years earlier, and they had never found her killer. And so now she remembered, all of a sudden, after 20 years, would you believe her memory? We just talked about the pliability of memory, and this researcher who says, do you think, by the way, here's the details. You know how she began to remember that? the face, and then she said to her husband, something weird happened. I think I remember the face of my friend before she was killed. She made this face, and now I remember it. And so she started talking to her husband and started talking to her family. And then they said, you got to go talk to somebody. So she went to a therapist who said, let's help you recall these things. And so she started to recall over the next couple of weeks these events that went on. And it started becoming clearer to her that she was probably there. She remembers a guy taking a rock above his head right before he smashed it. And that's the memory that started coming back. And the person holding the rock came to her too. It was her father. And now she started thinking, it was my dad that held the rock that killed my friend that's never been caught. And she took him to court. And she's testifying with a 20-year-old memory about her dad killing somebody when she was a kid, and she forgot all about it, but now she remembers. And details started coming back, and she started filling things in. Parenthetically, like being lost in a shopping mall. Do you get it? Would you have believed her memory? This is why Elizabeth Loftus and others study memory, and they went, could this really have happened? Could we implant in her a memory that never existed? And they started asking questions about how she recalled this memory. And guess what? They convicted him based upon her eyewitness testimony of 20 years. And that's why she went out and studied memories. And after that, they started looking at this memory research again, going, oh, did we mess up? Is it possible that this woman's memory was fallible, quirky, reconstructive? Is it? He's in prison because of that. So guess what? He gets out of court. By the way, he claims they interviewed him. He had legitimate reasons back then why they didn't consider him, a person of interest. He was certainly in the area because he lived there, was a neighbor. But no evidence tied him to the crime. The only thing that tied him to the crime was his daughter's memory of 20 years. She testified he was set free from prison about 5 years later due to a technicality. And in that time, a lot of this research started going on. And he got out of prison because of a technicality and filed a suit against his daughter and the prosecution for, obviously, for what he claimed was, I wasn't there. I didn't kill her. And I don't know how you could convict a person based upon what we now know about this memory. He filed a suit. By the way, they threw the suit out, but he's out of jail now and out of prison. And this is the researcher, by the way, Elizabeth Loftus, who went back and studied, along with a lot of other researchers. And they went back and tried to answer this question, wow, is it possible that we could do this, that we could her memory have been faulty? Could the therapist have accidentally implanted the picture of her father's head on this? Because the therapist said, who did it? Can you think through his face? Does his face remind you of anybody? What did it look like? What was happening? How could you, and remember the story about what Jennifer saw that we talked about at the beginning of this class. Not today, but many weeks ago. So today, they won't retry him based upon that memory. He's a free man, and the attorneys will not attempt to bring something against him because it's based upon her memory, and now they'll bring researchers in like this who say, gosh, I don't think I would trust a 20-year-old memory like that. Not the way it's been handled. It's too quirky, too fallible. We don't know. She's the one that did the research with the students getting lost in the mall that they thought they did. And it's really odd to have suggestions making people believe things. Memory, as she says, is creative, and other researchers in this field say the same. Any questions? We're going to move on, but I just wanted to let you know this is why this topic is so important to figure out how good are our memories, how accurate are what we think and know. Have you ever met and talked? Some of you are going to have this odd experience at Christmas time or whenever you go back and see your family and you're talking to them, and you could begin to recall things that have happened that they don't have a memory of. I remember, Mom, when you did this, I don't remember that. Or they have a memory of you doing things. Has that ever happened to you? Somebody else has a memory of you doing things and you have a memory of something completely different. That's a weird, kind of interesting moment that we have to face. Clive Wearing we saw. By the way, as far as other fascinating memories, you don't have to put down his whole last name, but you can just call him S. The Russian mnemonist S. He was one of those who had a memory that was like super autobiographical, but it was a little bit weird because he just remembered things, lists, numbers, conversations. He never forgot a conversation he had with you. He was one of the first that Russian psychologist named Lurie began to study Shereshevsky. He was a journalist who never took paper and pencil with him, and he did interviews, and he never forgot any conversation he ever had. He would do something, his memory was interesting. He could, like I said, he could remember every conversation he ever had. Poetry, foreign language, he could remember it forward, backward. He could remember strings of digits, numbers, 70 to 100 in length. So it goes like this, ready? Try and remember these digits. Here we go. Just be writing this down and try and remember. I'll give you 15 digits. Let's see. Well, I don't know how many I'll give you. Ready? 12, 11, 18, 12, 3, 6, 7, 3, 2, 5, 15, 16, 17, 1, 8. Okay. How many are having a hard time keeping up with all those digits after a while? You remember pieces of them, right? He remembered 70 to 100. You go like this, ready? 13, 11, 2, 9. That's 100 digits. 9, 18, 16, 6, 5, 8, 19, 1, 2. And by the way, you get all the way through. And you'd get to the very end, ready, bottom 10, 15, 16. And he'd go like this. He'd go, okay, do you want them forward or backward? That's what Shereshevsky could do. He would only miss one of these numbers, for example. An odd little quirk, ready? Is if when we were reading these off to him, right here, let's say, you said 14, 17, and somebody, right when I said the word 3, if somebody coughed, went out there, he would go back and he'd be, because we'd say, okay, recall, and he'd go 12, 20, 14, 17. I can't see this number because there's a puff of smoke on it. The numbers were being read off to him, but when somebody coughed, a sound imprinted itself on his brain visually as a puff of smoke, and he couldn't see the number. And then he'd go 13, 11, 2, 9, 18. Isn't that interesting? The only way he forgot was if he wanted to forget a conversation, he had to write it on a chalkboard and then erase it. And that sometimes helped. He ended up having a very difficult time, lived in an insane asylum the last few years of his life, because he couldn't tell the difference between current conversations and past conversations. Coughs, then, forgetting in the asylum, where he spent most of his life, the last part. That's Shereshevsky. Your book mentions him, the Russian mnemonist, one of the first people they began to explore and figure out how come his brain did that. What does he do? Why does he do this? By the way, researchers today are not researchers, but actually people who try and remember numbers and things like Shereshevsky. When he saw that puff of smoke, that word that I'll tell you about is something called synesthesia, and I'll explain that in just a minute. Synesthesia is when you hear something but you see an image of it. Some people hear a voice. He would go like this. He'd hear your voice and he'd go, oh, you have a yellow, crumbly voice. That's what he would see your voice in color or in crumbly things or whatever. That's called synesthesia. Some of you might hear music and see lights or colors. Some people know people who have a crossing of the inputs. Anybody know somebody like that? Where you might hear music and see colors, or you might see somebody and hear things or taste. That's called synesthesia. By the way, pi, you don't have to write down what pi is. But you know pi has, anybody remember the digits of pi for some odd reason? Caroline, anybody else? How come who memorized the digits of pi? How many digits? How many?
Like I did at one point,
About 80 digits of pi. Pi is the circumference, right? The diameter of and the circumference of a circle. It's the ratio between the diameter and the circumference of a circle. Here are the first 20 digits, 3.14159. The world record, anybody know what the world record is? A person, has memorized this. By the way, it goes on and on. That number goes on and on forever and ever and ever. It never ends. It just keeps going and going. Pages after pages have been, of just digits, and people have memorized those. So the record today is somewhere around 100,000 digits of pi, and I don't know why. This guy right here in this little video, he memorized 27,000 digits, and it took him 5 hours.
The numbers we use to calculate the dimensions of a circle. It's usually rounded off to 3.14, but its numbers actually go on to infinity. Daniel studied the sequence, 1,000 numbers to a page.
I would sit and I would gorge on them, and I would just absorb hundreds and hundreds at a time.
It took him several weeks to prepare, and then Daniel headed to Oxford, where, with number crunchers checking every digit,
1, 4, 1, 5,
he opened
9,
the floodgates
2, 6,
of his extraordinary memory.
8, 3, 0, 4, 1, 4, 6, 9, 9, 6, 5, 0, 2, 2, 5, 1, 9, 0, 7, 0, 6, 7, 9, 5, 4, 5, 6, 8, 1, 5,
And you were able
6,
to recite in the proper order. How many?
22,514. 4960.
It took him over 5 hours.
94726.
He did it without a single mistake.
399520614196. 3587. Finished. Yeah.
5 hours just to get 27,000. The world record holder has 100,000. And don't ask the question why, because I don't know the answer. Why would you do it? Synesthesia, it was the concept. Some of these guys like to do it because it's a challenge. Some see in kind of interesting ways. They might, hear a noise and see something. He would hear words or letters. This was Shereshevsky, and it would come across visually to him. There seems to be some benefit in doing that, but some people just remember it and try and just cram it in and figure out other ways. But that's one likely possibility, is some people that have fascinating memories have this kind of way to tie it to something else called synesthesia. We have memories that are not like most of these that we've been talking about, but we do have some very interesting memories, and our brains do hold a lot, even though people don't study as much. How much we hold on to, the amount of memory, we do hold a lot there. There's a lot of experiences that people have, and they tend to be able to hold on to a good percentage of that which they pay attention to and think about and process. And that's a lot of stuff over time. So our memories have this capacity of holding on to vast amount of information. Okay? Any questions so far on this? What I want to do is kind of talk a little bit and give you a demonstration of your memory and see how good you are at it. Does that sound good? Anything else? Question?
So like technically if someone would just lock themselves away in a room and just read, like say an encyclopedia or whatever, would that like supplement then the memory that they would have used on regular daily life? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. The question is, if a person, let's say, takes a day and just decides they're going to try and memorize a book or some big thing, or even the whole list of those numbers, it doesn't like take up all the room. You still have room to do other things, which is interesting. And it doesn't necessarily. It might. Your attention might be on that. You might forget what you had for lunch, or you might forget what you were doing. But so it all depends kind of on how we process and what we pay attention to. I don't know if that gets at your question or not, but there's kind of a way in which that our brains can hold on to amazing amounts of things and still forget little details.
Is synesthesia something you're born with, or is it mnemonic?
They think synesthesia is more like something you're born with rather than like a mnemonic device which you can practice, which I'll tell you a little bit about what those are like. Good questions.
Is the process to forgetting memory hard?
Yeah, forgetting is not all that. There are some times where it would be good to be able to forget some things. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute, like effortful forgetting. To forget without effort is pretty easy. but effortful one takes some time. Let's try one. Ready? The formation. How do we form a memory? So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to put a word up here on the screen, and I'm going to leave it up for 5 seconds. And I don't want you to write it down. Okay? Let's see how much you remember of it. Ready? Here's the word. 5 seconds. Don't write it down. Okay. So now here's what I want you to do. Information processing. I want you to write down, without saying it, don't say it out loud, write down in your notes the name of the 7 dwarfs. Not the ones in the Lord of the Rings. Though you could write those down, I guess, if that's the only ones you remember. Write down, without saying it out loud, the names or the name of the 7 dwarfs. As you're writing them down, let me ask this question. Who found this task difficult, to write down the names of the 7 dwarfs? Let me see your hands. Okay, why did you find it difficult? Haven't seen the movie since you were like 3. So, and even, okay, haven't seen the movie. Why else is it difficult? Anybody else? You haven't seen the movie? What's that? Yeah, there's something that you're just remembering other things and you're not maybe processing it. How many found it really easy? How many think you have like 4 or 5 and you're just missing like 1 or 2? And so you're wondering, is like Stretchy one of them? If you've never remembered the names of the 7 dwarfs, it's going to be hard. If you have remembered them, it might be easy. But here's the interesting thing. The reason is because you do something for your memory. You have 3 tasks to do. If you go to a movie, for example, you have to get that information in. So you might have gone to the movie, you might have watched this video, you might have seen the 7 dwarfs, but you just never really paid attention. I don't know if some of you are like that at movies. That's the way I am. I'll sit at a movie and I'll go like this. Lisa, who's Mr. Bad Guy? And she goes, it's Brad Pitt. And I go, I know, but what's his name in the movie? It's, I don't know, Jose. And I say, okay, good. Lisa, who's that guy again? Brad? She goes, it's Brad Pitt. No, what's his name? Jose. Oh, okay. Lisa, what's that guy? She goes, stop it. Ask that up people over there. So it's this, I just forget those things. I do this with memories. I don't know about some of you all. I go to we go to rent a movie or get something on Netflix, and she goes, my wife goes like this, oh, we've seen that movie. I go, oh, I've never seen that one. She goes, no, we've seen that movie. Lisa, I've never seen that movie. Are any of you like that with me? We get the movie and we watch like 5 seconds. I go, crud, I've seen this movie. See, information, you have to do 3 things. You have to encode it, you have to store it, and you have to retrieve it, right? So you encode, store, and retrieve. This always reminds me, I put a person there typing on a computer because I was actually around when computers were coming out and I was typing on one. I remember I didn't have a computer when I was in graduate school and I was working on a paper, ready? 5 hours long, working on my friend's computer, and that was before you knew things like you should always back up the things. So I was encoding information, but I never hit the store, the save button we call it. And here's what happened, 5.5 hours of work, just working. And there's a little squirrel that started walking outside in this little town in Colorado, in Fort Collins, where I was studying, getting my degree. And I looked at the squirrel, and I thought, that's kind of cool. And so I looked at him for a little while, and then I went back to work. And no more than 5 seconds later, maybe 10 seconds later, after I'm sitting there, there's this massive flash, white flash. And you know those little telephone transformer things? This flash went, and I looked at my computer, and it went blank. And then it started to reboot, and I went, like that. And I waited for it, and this flash, I'm waiting for it, thinking, oh, and my entire 5.5 hours was gone. It had not been stored, it was gone. And here's what happened. That squirrel, that's the flash of light. And I took a picture of the squirrel because he was on fire. And he fell off the wire, and he just was, you could see him in there. I said to my roommate, oh my gosh. And he goes, what happened? I go, that flash. He goes, I know. What? He goes, what's wrong with you? I went, a squirrel just, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill him. So I grab a stick. He goes, oh, I want to go with you. So we ran outside to go kill. He was like dead. His teeth were singed. He was black and burned. All the way, just hanging there dead. I couldn't even kill him because he was already dead. And I'm like, you stupid. Bad squirrel. The only good news is his genetic stupidity is not being passed on to other squirrels right now. Like, he's out of the gene pool. I was so angry. It was gone. Okay. Sorry, that was a minor story about not storing things. We store things in memory. So some of you went and went, I know the 7 dwarfs, but I never stored them. Or some of you stored them and you got some of the words and you can kind of retrieve them. How many have one of the 7 dwarfs on the tip of your tongue? Like, I know it's close to stretchy or slimy or squeezy or lemon, whatever, squeezy. Right? Or some of you are like, no, how about this? Your retrieval is hard and your recall, but could you recognize it? If I put all of the names, a bunch of different names up there, could you tell me which ones were the 7 dwarfs? Yes. So, ready? You could do that because you'd recognize them. So here they are. Here's a bunch of names. You tell me which one works. Is it grouchy? Gabby? Fearful? Sleepy? Smiley? Jumpy? Hopeful? So go through all those. And here's how most people get them. Most people get sleepy, dumpy, dopey, grumpy, sneezy, dopey, sneezy, but they forget happy, doc, and bashful, most of people do. Yeah. How many forgot doc or bashful? It's because it oftentimes doesn't rhyme. Okay. You have to be able to remember things by putting it and paying attention. So let's start with attention. To form a memory, if you go to a movie, you got to pay attention and you got to think about it and process it. You have, unfortunately, or fortunately, probably, the ability to select that which you pay attention to. You will pay attention to some things and not to other things, and this selectivity allows you to avoid all these bad distractions around you, like when you study. Because you don't want to be paying attention to every little noise and sound and things going on. So we have this cool built-in selectivity process. It's like a filter that lets some things in and keeps things out. And so as you listen to this lecture, are there things going on around you that are distracting? All the time. And good students find out, I've got to pay attention and not listen to that Yahoo or listen to this or think about that or do that. So you have a filter that gets in here that screens out that which is unwanted. You remember this? Remember that idea of when we pay attention? Well, you don't have to write what's on the bottom. That was back from the previous lecture. But our memories have this ability of helping us to pull out and not be distracted by things. So for students, one of the biggest things you have to fight, not only when you listen to lectures, how about sometimes when you're praying in the morning? Do you get distracted? Or you're trying to read, do you get distracted sometimes? The answer is, yeah, we get distracted all the time. People who are able to pay attention to that, who can keep from being distracted, usually have a good filter. And they go, I'm not going to sit there and let this distract me. I'm going to focus right now on these things. So, a filter screens out the unwanted. By the way, you can have a good filter. You can be standing in a room like this or like in the cafeteria and you're screening out all kinds of conversations. Have you noticed that? The way you pay attention to you're talking to a friend in the middle of a cafeteria is that you have a screen. Every once in a while, does a word get through your screen? Guess what the most common word is that gets through your screen? Your name. So if you're sitting there talking to somebody and all of a sudden you hear your name being said, you could do that. Try, see your friends like about, 20 feet away and kind of say it in a way they could hear you if they were listening, and you could say, blah, 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 hey, Mary, and all of a sudden she might go, like that. It's a screen that allows some things in, but it keeps some things out. So, here we go. Ready? What I'd like you to do now is understand what we do. We take some event happens. Here's a kind of a quick summary. There's some external event that's occurred. in this event, the way we form a memory is it hits this register, something called a sensory register. That sensory register lands on our brain and stays there, okay? It stays on our brain in the sensory register. And now I'm going to give you kind of a sequence of about 5 or 6 things. Where does it go next? It strikes our brains. We've been talking about sensation and perception. It hits sensory registers. This is called sensory memory. Then from sensory memory, it moves over to being encoded, okay? Some event. Seven Dwarfs. It hits our memory. We encode it, and it goes into short-term memory. Short-term memory. Nothing really weird about this. Some event. There's this process of hitting a register, and it goes into our sensory memory. We kind of encode that, and we go, oh, I'm watching a guy named whatever. That short-term memory, then, if I told you my name and you never met me before, or someone tells you your name, how long do you hold on to their name? For some of you, like 30 seconds. And then have you sat there and met somebody like, I don't even remember your name. 30 seconds, about how long, guess how long your short-term memory is? Your short-term memory is about that long. It's how long you remember. If you don't process it, it just fades. So where does it go after short-term memory? It goes into long-term memory. If you encode it and pay attention, we put things in long-term memory. I want to remember this guy's name, so I'm going to process it, think about it, pay attention. We call that encoding. We can put that into long-term memory. Then what happens? Well, after long-term memory, we are able to pull things out of long-term memory. If I asked you what you did for dinner last night, it's kind of in this long-term memory. Most of you will remember, oh, I remember that. I did this. I was there. You retrieve it, right? You retrieve it, and now you can talk about it and deal with it in short-term memory. All right. There's nothing magical about this sequence. You can find it in the textbook, and all I want to mention are 2 quick things at the very beginning, and then we'll go through this. Ready? Sensory registers at the very beginning, when you first get something, it hits our sensory registers, and we pay attention or not, and it goes like this. Watch. This sensory register, remember, the way we process it or think about it is it hits this part of us that's called the sensory memory. One of those ways it does it is visually. And so if you see something, you get this thing called an iconic memory of it, a visual, like an icon. Think of that word. An icon is an image, right? Y'all staying with me? So you get this icon, this iconic memory, and you hold on to it. By the way, if someone ever asks the question, do you have a photographic memory? How many know somebody with a photographic memory? Who knows it? Somebody knows somebody? By the way, everybody in this room with normal vision has a photographic memory. That's an interesting feature of iconic memory. You take a perfect photograph of everything you look at, and it's a perfect photographic, iconic memory. The problem is what? It only lasts about a half of a second. So your photographic memory starts to fade in about a half of a second. We call that this visual memory, sensory memory of about a half a second. For people that have a true photographic memory, they take a picture of something and it lasts and lasts and lasts, and they could still see it. My little brother at times would claim, he would do this, he'd say, oh, Chris, this is cool, watch this. When this guy, I remember watching a football game with him one time, and he goes, if you close your eyes, can you still see the play and what's going on? I go, no. And he goes, no, try it, watch when this guy, he close your eyes right when something important's about to happen. and so I did. I closed my eyes right when this guy was trying to score a touchdown. I closed my eyes, and I didn't see anything. And he goes, oh, isn't it cool? And I go, what's cool? He goes, can't you see the guy when he's falling over and he's reaching and he's just seeing that guide number and see how number 68 is coming over? Like, Joe, you're freaking me out, man. I see nothing. I don't see anything. And I don't think he did this a lot, and I don't think he was good at that necessarily, but there were times in which he would just still see that. He had pieces of something called eidetic imagery. He didn't have this, but there are some people with more photographic memories, and photographic memories are one of the techniques that images that last longer than a half a second. So it's just a word we use called eidetic imagery. That's true photographic memory. Most people don't have it. There are some unique people that can see something and it just stays out there for a long. Anybody in this room have what you think might be, you could see an image and turn away and still see it for a long, long time? That's kind of photographic. There are a few people like that. By the way, there's another one for auditory called echo or echoic memory. So that's memory, sensory memory of something auditory. So if I'm talking right now, how many can still hear me talking even if after I stop talking? That's like a friend going into your room and you're sitting there studying. Have you ever done that? And they say, hey, you want to go grab something to eat real quick? And you're like, what? Oh yeah, let's go. Have you ever done that before? Somebody says something to you and you're like, what? And then you answer the question because you hear them again in your head. That's kind of interesting. It's probably echoic memory because it lasts 2 to 4 seconds. So our echoic memory, we can still hear somebody saying something, hey, you want to go get something to eat? And you go, what? And then you hear, you want to go get something to eat? Oh yeah, sure. That's kind of weird. Echoic memory. Okay, so these are sensory memories, and we hold on to them. Let's try one more. I don't remember if I've talked about déjà vu or not. Have I? No. That was kind of a joke. Because it feels like I have. I don't really remember. It feels like I have. But how many have ever experienced déjà vu? Oh, how many think it's weird? Like that moment where you're going, what? We were out to eat a few nights ago, and Lisa goes like this. Oh, this is déjà vu. You're sitting there, and he's sitting there, and I go. And so some of you all experienced it. How do you explain it?
You've seen it.
It's like you maybe seen it before. That's the illusion. Okay, let's do this. One more memory test. Ready?
I was going to say when I was younger, I believed that I dreamt it before.
Yeah, so some people say, I've dreamt this before, and now that I've dreamt it, I'm just recalling this from a dream. Yeah. And you're about to do this or say that, right? Mm-hmm. Ready? 12 words. Ready? 12 words. They're going to be on this screen. Let's see if you can get all 12. Okay? Here they go. Don't write them down. 12 words. 3 seconds each. Ready? Start. Okay, write down as many of the 12. It doesn't matter the order. Just write the 12 down. It doesn't matter the order. There were 12. Some of you will get 7, 8 or 9, some 5 or 6, but just write them down. Doesn't matter the order. Come on, get as many as you can. All right, let's try this. If you're writing it, most of you are done. How many remember the word aardvark? Not really, it wasn't in there. Raise your hand if you remember the word sleep. Let's start with that one. Look how many hands are up. Everybody got sleep. Here's the weird thing about déjà vu, ready? You all, 90% of you, remember the word sleep. Here are the 12 words. Sleep isn't one of them. Most of you remembered a word that wasn't on that list because you thought you experienced that word before and you recall it happening now, but it never really happened. is it possible that you previously experienced something that never really happened? It was just happening right then, but your mind recalls something. You see, you're pulling up things like rest, tired, dream, slumber, and the word sleep just kind of naturally kind of falls in there as something that might happen. That's kind of weird, huh? Questions about it? We don't know how to explain deja vu. It might be like this. Ready? Remember that sequence I showed you? Sensory memory. You encode it. It goes to sensory register. Sensory memory goes to short-term, long-term. Some people think deja vu is this. It's happening, and instead of going through that sequence, sensory register, sensory memory, encoded, short-term memory, encode, long. Some people think, oh, you're having an external event, and it goes right into long-term memory, right then. And remember, when you pull things out of long-term memory, you think they've happened to you. Does that make sense? You're like, oh, this is a memory. But it's happening right now, but you think it's a memory. Some of you are looking at it like, I don't know what you just said. Okay. There are different levels of encoding, and here's a cool thing. Some of you could remember words that I put on that I have visually or acoustically, and deep memories could be if you put meaning to them. Our memories and how deep, remember I put the word encoding? You encode some event and you do it into short term, and some of you put it into long term, but some of you encoded things visually. So let's go back to the word that I put up for 5 seconds about a half an hour ago, and I said to you, remember this word. Some of you thought visually. How many could remember the color? What color? Yellow, green, white. Some of you don't have good visual memories. Teal, aqua, salmon, foosh, okay, whatever. Ready? How many of you all remember it sounded like some word? What did it sound like? Somebody thought it sounded like thunderstorm. Now we're like, oh, I remember that word. By the way, here's the word. Oh, visually, some of you remember, maybe, was it all caps or not? Well, good for you, finally. Ready? Here's the word. That's not the word. That's not even close to the word. Ready? Here it is. Here's the word. Ah. How many got a lot of it right? How many got it exactly right? Oh. By the way, visual encoding. Visual, some of you went like this. It sounds like thunderstorm. Or looks like this color maybe visually. Some of you, the acoustic is like, oh, it sounds like that. By the way, if you put this into deep meaning, it could go like this, ready? You will never forget this word if you put meaning to it. Give me some meaning. Like the United States of America. And so if you do that with material that you study, you put meaning to it, it's called deep acoustical, deep semantic memory. And I don't even remember what slide we were on, so we're going to go through this whole thing again. So it goes like this, ready? You're able to get to this deep meaning, and that's enriched encoding. It's deep semantic. Get it? The United States of America. Did you someone have a question? No. Yeah? To enrich your encoding, you probably want to try and get it as deep as possible, semantic. Put meaning behind things you study. If you're studying for an exam, if you're studying in this class, it's why I tell stories all the time. I know some of you are like, gosh, she tells a lot of stories. Maybe some of you like stories. I don't know. I tell them mostly for a purpose. It's because your memory of stories is very good. Write stories down, and if you could remember objects and items, write them down in some way and enrich that, elaborate it, add it to things. By the way, that's what Jesus did with parables when people weren't writing down these parables when he talked. So instead, he spoke in parables because they were what? They were stories, and people remember things like, oh, I remember the story of the prodigal son. Well, you don't have to write it down. You can go, oh, I remember the image. It's the son, and he goes away and he spends his inheritance. And people could visualize that. That's imagery. And you could look at mnemonic devices in your textbook to find out different ways to do this and how we're able to remember things. Sometimes it happens like with flashbulb memories where we just never forget something because it happened. So traumatic, so amazing, so powerful. How many of you remember where you were the day for 9/11? How many remember that day clearly? Most of you remember it because it was a flashbulb memory. So here's what we're going to do. I'll finish up memory on next time, and we'll start another topic on emotions. All right? So we'll see you next time.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.